Good morning. I will talk about this theme on digitally transformed security. I am Pemin. I'm in charge of security business at LG CNS. Nice to meet you all today. Recently, Toast Bank, an internet exclusive bank, opened its service, and the demand was so huge to the point where it could not absorb all the subscribers. In order to make a bank account, people were lining up. However, for offline banks, they strive to shrink their sizes. As for internet bank, they have no branch, they have no ATM machine, but they are changing the flow of the finance currently. Hyundai Motors is no example. It only sells light SUV Caspers. And Tesla, starting from Model S, it only gets orders from online. In the past, people had to visit the showrooms to talk with the sales consultants and then actually got the price quote after looking around. However, customers can use web or app. They can just sit down in the house or cafeteria to choose a model they want and choose option features and then see the price. So for the corporate side, the channels for customers have been diversified and they can now have new types of communication to collect customer data. So the experience of selling and buying a car has changed. As such, in all sorts of the field, digital transformation is taking place. According to market research, this market of digital transformation is prospected at $323.42 billion, and that is about 20 million. And then it is going to have a CAGR of 12% each year. So, what is the definition of digital transformation or DX? How would you define it yourself? Professor Nathan Furr from INSEAD said, digital transformation actually can be defined as something to use digital tools to better cater to the existing customer needs. So this is a very brief definition of digital transformation or DX. So DT or DX in short, or digital transformation. So DX doesn't have to be dramatic and it doesn't have to dramatically change the key business. No pivoting needed. Let me give you one example. There is this, for example, a shipping company for maritime containers. So in order to better cater to customer needs to get lower price transport service, it applied blockchain technology throughout the supply chain, reducing the cost for transportation and collecting sensor data. And one Russian airliner apply digital technologies to increase user friendliness. For example, in order to raise the visibility of maintenance, it integrated the data using the sensors, and also the data actually was collected by making a dashboard, so all the internal staff could see the information so they could better cater to customer needs, increasing user friendliness. So what is critical is that in order to better cater to customer needs, for example, transport company can provide a cheaper service and airliner can provide a service where easy and safe booking can be made possible. And here they use DX technologies. So if that's the case, how do you define DX in security? So as DX takes place, all sorts of data are transformed into digital forms. The transformed data is stored in cloud infrastructure as a digital tool, and they're collected using the big data, which is digital tool. And also the stored data is analyzed by using another digital tool, which is AI. So it increases user friendliness through digital tool of mobile. As such, security in DX must be considered equally as AI, which deals with data, or digital tools like cloud. If you cannot do it well, it's like to let open the door of a company. So as the environment changes into DX, the user environment also is changing. Within a company, the environment where they use PCs. It has been shifting to an environment where devices have been diversified, where working can be done anywhere. In the past, so there was a gateway security. Blocking traffic was the means to increase security, but it's not the enough options these days. So collected personal data and the key data, how can this be securely stored? So which is to do with data security. So there must be less of the anxiety in using external infrastructure where cloud security is needed. And not just that, the companies also had to make sure that the production lines could be operated without any stoppage, where state-of-the-art facilities were adopted, where OT security is very critical. So let's talk about some of the examples of security in DX. First of all, so this is one overseas customer case. So in overseas branch, there was ransomware infection. So there was the whole stoppage of the operation. So we did look at the forensic analysis, and the server being infected had nothing connected with outside. It was just an internal network. So how did it get infected? It was found through CCTV. So as we looked at the recording in CCTV, there was a sneaking in of unauthorized outsider into the data center. I know it's like a movie story, right? So how can we better prepare ourselves for such things? First of all, in CCTV, which is like physical security, AI can be applied. So intelligent CCTVs were materialized. Using the data, people can be identified, and their identity is monitored and authenticated to see if these people are in the right spots. So there was integration with the IT systems for control or monitoring. So physical security data and IT data were integrated for better analysis to make significant response scenarios. So in the brief that we have, we show how video data and IT data integrated to provide monitoring service. You can see a demo if you come to our booth. So let me give you the second example. So it is a case where detection system was installed for anomaly detection. So this company already had the leakage protection system. So all the logs were accumulated to make rules, and the people in charge actually responded based on the logs, based on these rules. However, over time, as remote users increase and data increase in volume, the rule-based monitoring could not be made possible anymore. So here, big data and AI were applied again. So all the logs and security solutions were collected, and using AI, these were automated. And using machine learning, it was made sure that if there's any anomalous behavior from the users, if there is this behavior of anomaly detected, based on the rules acquired in machine learning, proper responses could take place. So rule-based alerts, false positives decrease in volume. So the things we could not detect, for example, behavior-based anomalies could be detected to minimize the number of FPs or false positives. So big data and AI can be used as such for the security in DX. Recently speaking, what's the area where DX takes place at the fastest pace? That's the automobile field. When we chose a car in the past, we considered horsepower, fuel economy, and space, all these hardware bits. So there has been a greater demand for internet connectivity, as in smartphones or household appliances, but automobile industry was not so willing to make it possible because it was worried about possible car accidents. However, recently speaking, as we choose a car, we do consider if it has, for example, autonomous driving feature, driving assistance, or safety system in place. So these are all the software components. So as we consider software factors, what we consider actually and what we believe in is the security. So there must be premise that my data is well stored and secured and it will be well reflected in safety. So security is provided, and then automakers actually are dramatically acting out DX. So security for the cars. So thinking that a car is a device, so IoT security actually has seen dramatic improvement in performance of technology. That's why we see such dramatically increasing transformation for security. And regarding auto security concerns, still there's a long way to go. So one thing to actually overcome is the regulatory hurdle. So there is a UN Economic Commission for Europe, and for example, by next year, July next year, without getting the security certificate, new cars cannot be officially launched. So car makers and tier one partners and OEMs are striving a lot to prepare to get the certificate. So in the auto field, given the nature of the field, you have to have the security features well equipped. And in the future, autonomous driving cars, for example, when these are up and running on the roads, just like we monitor systems remotely, all the operation must be well monitored and well traced. So VSOC or Vehicle Security Operations Centers must be there. So response to security regulations and operation infrastructure must be there in order to make sure that security takes place in the auto field. So security was not actually at the top priority, was not the top priority. So how you respond to it actually, was the usual approach, but it must be presented. It must actually based on full understanding of the industry, and this actually would pave the way for enhancing the security in the future. So operational technology, that is, let's talk about it. So what about security in OT field, which encompasses production facilities? In the past, even the malware, it was only the thing for public corporations and financial companies. And the solutions to block malware were similar. And how you authorize and how you set the rules for network were all very similar in the past. So you actually block the gateways and protect the inside by monitoring it. But as you move towards DX, there's a huge amount of data being generated. Customer data being aligned with the corporate data, and all the aligned data is being analyzed to provide services. So all the data pipelines are being formed as a result. So within this data flow, how we can analyze it using AI and automate it is the key message in the production field. But when you hear the word automation, there is a huge complexities behind. So all the accumulated data are not just log data for security. They would include all the assets, knowledge, intelligence of company. How you handle these data would be the key aspect in security. Especially industrial sites are the data factories generating huge amount of data. In the past, all these data only just came into a specific device or terminal, but these days, so many facilities are connected together in a smart factory, so different sorts and forms of data are being generated. In the past, PCL data and the terminal data were the only things, but PLC and DCS, facility-related data, are also being generated. In the past, the production data we thought was in a closed network is connected to external network these days. It means that threads are also being aligned to what we know as closed network. So this is overall summary of the OT security. In the past, only IT security area was the target, but now it has been broadened up to cover OT and DMZ, and cell even has been expanded as such to include all of these. So for each of the gateways, specific solutions might be there. Network security solution is one example, and ICS computational system security is another example, and the PLC and DCS security also needed. So as such, when you install needed solutions, can you say that you have Opti solution in place? But the thing is that the data is flowing, befitting the nature of the industry. So without fully understanding the structure and flow of the data, the point solutions for security cannot play their utmost functions. If there's any single mistake, or if there is any error or failure in the IT system, I mean, it might be okay, but even any error in the production site actually would lead to physical safety accidents. So for production facilities, there must be full understanding of the industrial structure, and so much data being generated must be identified. And not just IT, but the data from so many equipment. So the ones with different protocols must be fully understood to be able to collect the data for these reasons. So the threat information from other industries must be collected to make proper responses. So that's another example of security in DX. So this now is about cloud security. So when you're using cloud infrastructure, so it actually has been the security when we conducted surveys for security or for cloud-related survey. But we assume that cloud providers actually do something to take care of my security. However, the public cloud service providers are using, for example, ISEC, they have well-defined responsibilities, but commonly enough, service providers as such are responsible for external infrastructure, but the data or application security is in the domain of responsibility of users. So that's why users must purchase solutions and have, for example, control services. But in the cloud environment, it is getting more and more complicated. In the past, a single service, CSP service, was used. And in the virtual world, you upload a server to use, so a simple migration took place. However, more and more, cloud environment gets more complicated. So by using Microsoft architecture, even developers actually develop programs on cloud, and it's not a virtual cloud, but even a serverless environment, work also is being operated as well. And also the systems that were in the companies are actually configured in private clouds. And there's also hybrid cloud environments where these two get mixed. So even multiple asset services are underway. So in this complicated environment, data is flowing, and that data pipeline must be well monitored and analyzed. So that's why managed security service is needed, or MSS. So this actually would cover not just the existing infrastructure, but the applications from the servers and operation of the servers and even the monitoring. So this actually refers to total and comprehensive service. So let's talk about it from now on. So this must be provided in the form of a service. So security team in organizations or companies, would best provide all of these. That would be a perfect scenario. However, environments are different and security threats are varying so much over time. So with a unit solution, you cannot have a perfect response. Recently speaking, one of the big trends is zero trust. So we actually made a SASE-based service operation for our client. So the operation is done, was migrated to SaaS-based, which is cloud environment. And then, so staff, for example, would do telework or work from home because of COVID. So there were more and more users of VPN. And because of having to provide the exact same security solutions, cloud service and SaaS service could be used using data centers, especially those who are working abroad, the staff members working abroad, they actually had to go through the domestic data centers to use a cloud application, which was a very big hassle for them. So what we installed is the SaaS-based service model for them. And using this model, staff do not have to go through all the hassle of installing a security solution, and the same applies to the staff working abroad. And without damaging any performance, they can still use the cloud there without installing anything. And security teams at the very center would be able to see the overall flow and do the authorization to provide as a service. So CQ Expert is the security service brand encompassing all the security features of LGCNS. You don't have to know anything about security. That's a slogan, and you might wonder, is it possible? But if you consider cloud service, you are operating a server offline. You are operating data storage, and then if you use cloud service, if the storage backup is done well, if the traffic being well managed, all of these you don't have to worry about. So this is definitely a trust-based CSP that you trust. So I think this can be provided in the form of a service. So DX might differ depending on what industry you're talking about. Even the same industry, it might differ depending on what companies you're talking about. And within the company, DX also might differ if the culture is different. Even depending on the regions, DX also can be applied in a different way. So as for electronics, chemicals, and distribution and all of these sectors, we have established security solutions. And new technologies like AI, big data, and cloud environment security have been applied to all of these. So LGCNS provide customized security service. So we are MSSP, managed security service provider. So let me rephrase the digitally transforming the security. So the companies providing security services solutions or organizations performing security tasks must actually be able to use various types of digital tools and technologies to provide core values of safety to customers. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.